Hello, and thank you for tuning in to Patient Partner Innovation Community's web series. I am Desiree Collins Bradley, your host of Patient Partner Innovation Community. Today, we're going to speak with Kimberly Richardson. She has partnered with a team of junior researchers to promote her program, Survivors Advising Scientists Educational Program. Tune in to learn more. Right. Well, hello, everybody, and I'm so excited to have you guys tuned in today. I am Desiree Collins Bradley with Patient Partner Innovation Community, and we're having a very good Zoom today with some junior researchers. You guys know you hear me all the time talk about patient engagement and research. Well, we've got a dynamite team here to talk about it. So how about, I've had the liberty of kind of talking to you guys before we got started. I would love for each of you to go ahead and introduce yourself. Kim, we'll start with you and then go around the circle.
Sure. Well, thanks for having us, Desiree. My name is Kimberly Richardson. I'm here in Chicago, and I am a 7.5-year ovarian cancer advocate, survivor, and patient advocate. And I do a lot of work around collaborations with survivors and scientists. And we're here today just to talk to you guys about the launch of our new program, Survivors Advising Scientists Educational Program. And the guests you have on today's panel are the first junior researchers who have participated in the program.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Well, Ben, we'll start with you. Why don't you just give us a brief introduction, and then we'll follow with Casey, and we'll end with Toya with introductions.
Yes, sounds good. Hello, I'm Benjamin Gordon. I'm a third-year MD PhD student at the University of Illinois at Chicago. I'm currently a graduate student in the Kidieski Lab, and I study breast cancer metastasis and tumor angiogenesis. And I first met Kimberly back in August when the UI Cancer Center and the Patient Brigade toured the Kidieski Lab. And usually when I talk about my research with my friends, it's a snooze fest 30 seconds in. And meeting the Patient Brigade, which is a group of, cancer survivors and research advocates, they were just so engaged, so interested in the work that was going on at UIC and beyond, and just generally curious. They knew the importance of patients' involvement in research, historical disparities in research. And I realized, as an MD PhD student that, there's such a long bridge sometimes between young investigators and patients. And as MD PhD students, patients are first and foremost on our mind. And I thought it would be a wonderful opportunity to, create that bridge and, work on a project that brings both communities together. So when I was writing a fellowship grant, I thought about my training plan going forward, and I called Kimberly, and she had this wonderful, wonderful idea that we will be talking about shortly. And, the rest is history.
I love it. I love it. Well, Casey, why don't you introduce yourself to our listeners and guests?
Yes, hi. So I'm Casey. I'm also a fellow MD PhD student at University of Illinois College of Medicine. And I recently, this past spring, just defended my PhD so that was exciting during all the craziness. And I am returning to medical school. I'm a third-year medical student. So I was in kind of a unique position when Ben introduced the module to me, because I was practicing creating my presentation of my research. Mm-hmm. And the presentation is targeted towards family and friends, and a broad spectrum of the audience has different scientific background. So I was kind of learning how to create the language, not just for scientists, but for people who have different backgrounds. So this kind of sparked interest in kind of learning how to communicate as a young scientist, not just to other scientists, but to my future patients and the broad spectrum of the public.
Awesome. Awesome. And Toya, please introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. We're really happy to be here. I'm Tova Bergston. I'm a third-year MD PhD student at UIC College of Medicine with Ben and Casey. And Ben posted on our page, our Facebook page, does anyone want to work on this project with me? And I really jumped at the chance because I think this bidirectional use of working for patients really speaks to our dual degree. That's the whole purpose, is taking everything we've been able to learn in clinic and bringing it back to the bench so that we can better solve patient problems, and then taking what we learn through our PhDs and bringing it back to clinic and help patients. So getting all of this wonderful patient feedback was such a unique idea. I hadn't really encountered that before. So I was really excited to work on something like this.
Also, and apologies, I'm looking at your name, Tova. I've been calling you Toya, Tova.
It's okay. I learned practically everything that starts with T, so it's all good.
I totally. So we've been talking about, this curriculum. You guys have been kind of throwing little nuggets. Kimberly, the first question is for you. What is the curriculum? What did you guys encounter to come as a collective group to create? If you could kind of just give our listeners a little idea of what you guys did, and then we'll dive right into the researchers, because I really want to hear from you guys.
Well, the objective comes from, largely it was a project that I was involved in with a national advocacy organization. I applied and was selected to be an Elevate ambassador for a national organization called the National Coalition for Cancer Survivorship. And we all had to submit a program idea and implement it within a year.
Whoa.
And being the type A type of person that I am, I submitted 3 ideas. Well, they've all come to pass, which is I'm very proud of all of that kind of work. But I created survivors advising scientists around my own personal journey as a cancer patient. Largely, without going into too much detail, my relationship with my oncologist as I was going through treatment was very tumultuous. I didn't get a lot of information that I was looking for. Of course, being a life-threatening time in my life, you were seeking out answers. And I think it's, once I got out of treatment and started getting involved in advocacy, I started seeing all these gaps.
Yeah.
I would go to, for example, I'd go to Capitol Hill, and I'd be asked to influence lawmakers around increasing funding for ovarian cancer research. But I did not know one research experiment or one research project. I was just going, give us more money, and of course that makes sense for us to do. But as advocates, there was this deficit in our knowledge base.
Yeah.
If any one of those staffers were to say, great, tell me a little bit about the particular research that you're interested in, the particular research surrounding your cancer type. Tell me about something around granulosa cell tumor ovarian cancer, Kimberly. And I'd be standing there like, and I wouldn't have been able to say as much as I could have. And so I said, this is the type of advocacy that I want to get involved in. I want to create a bridge between patient advocates and scientists. So oftentimes the patients, when they deal with their oncologist, they just don't have answers for us. They treat us, but they say, cross our fingers, right? I believe if we give patient advocates the relationships between scientists, we create a bridge of hope, because then the patient advocate can say, I firsthand know what research is being done around my cancer type. And so where we have to start is we have to start with wonderful folks like what's on your screen, the young scientist, the person who is open to these kinds of collaborations. Not to say that the older, more senior researchers are not. It's just that they've been indoctrinated into a process. This is how it's always been done.
Yeah.
And we want to create this relationship with these guys to show that it is a collaborative process. that they're the experts in the science, but I'm an expert in living with the cancer.
Yes.
Right? So there's parity there.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is the impetus and the objective behind Survivors Advising Scientists. It is truly a bi-directional program. We created, the students created these modules, and the way we made it bi-directional was asking all these national patient advocates to weigh in on the content.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're going to not necessarily be the verbal back and forth of a bi-directional process, but it's content, evaluation of content, and then acceptance of that evaluation, so that the patient advocate learns through the process, and so the junior researchers do as well. They hear the voice of the advocate. So that's how it becomes a very bi-directional situation. And so I'm going to let the students talk to you individually about their modules and
love it.
why we decided that those would be the first modules we'd start with.
Well, and Ben, we'll go to you first. So how about you just kind of do exactly what him just said? Just dive into and kind of give us a little bit of feedback about the modules. What did you guys come up with? How was that process doing that? Were you nervous about engaging patients? Just all things. I'll hand the ball to you, Benjamin. You take it away.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you. I just want to echo what Kimberly said. I think it's just so vitally important for patients and research advocates to be part of the discussion, to know what's going on, and have input. Historically, research and patients have suffered from not being involved in the discussion. So the ultimate goal of these modules is to get everyone part of the discussion. And in order to do so, we created 9 modules so far, but hopefully we'll create more and more content. And the way the processes went, the modules cover things like scientific hypotheses, experimental variables, confounding variables, experimental errors, statistical significance. And the way this worked is Casey, Tova, and I co-authored 3 of them each, so it was a total of 9 so far. And then we recorded them, and then we sent them out to, countless numbers of reviewers. It almost kind of reminds me of like the research peer review process, except these are patient advocates and, survivors. And they gave us really great detailed feedback. And we things like the font color, or I don't understand that concept. And, what's the point of the videos if it's not understandable? So we took their feedback, we reworked them, we re-recorded them, and we just finished the first round of the videos. We'll hopefully make them available soon, and we'll see if Tova and Casey have more to add to that.
Yes, Casey, we'll go to you.
Yeah, I mean, Ben kind of laid the foundation on how the process went, and kind of to speak on the feelings, I guess, we had throughout it. I was definitely nervous doing the initial recordings, and I was in charge of statistical significance, which was a little bit difficult to say. Part of the feedback, was creating just a professional script. Was creating more of a professional script, and to make the flow very simple. And we got the videos, luckily through the Cancer Center, professionally edited to seem very smooth, which kind of put us at ease for the second round. But to kind of give examples for the statistical significance, we had created, with Ben's idea, using kind of talking about Skittles in the example, and that seems off, so you can look at the link once they're up, but basically utilizing not scientific examples, but normal everyday counting red Skittles versus orange Skittles, and how you can see something and relate it back to science. I think that was a big, a lot of the feedback that we got was doing kind of both examples, a scientific example and then everyday example, which helped make the videos clear. And I feel like I also started to understand the different things clear myself. Even as a recent graduate of my PhD, I was like, oh, like this is how I can more simply explain this terminology faster than like a whole long-winded text. So that's just kind of my thought process.
I love that. I love that. You know, it's interesting you say that because, and I'll just say, I remember when I was first approached to become involved in a research project, and it was around diagnostic error. And I remember like the day before our Zoom meeting, I was like, okay, I was so afraid of what I was going to encounter. And I'll say, you know, I could see where the modules that you guys have created would have been extremely helpful to me to be comfortable with the language, to understand the concepts, and in all honesty, saved a lot of time in teaching, right? You can shoot those modules out and you can do that pre-work so they're ready to get to work, and it kind of saves the whole project team a lot of time. So, you know, I like that. So Tova, saying it right, I'm going to throw the ball to you. What was your insights in the beginning of the project?
Sure. So a lot of the feedback on my modules was to have more visual aids. And I think for topics that we understand very well as scientists and we use all of the time, it can be very difficult to take a step back and rethink how to make it understandable for someone else who maybe doesn't learn just by reading a word that we have known for like our whole careers. So that was very interesting, but also very eye-opening to understand how is best to present information to patients, how they learn, and how we can make science more available to them. So, and I think one of my favorite modules was my last one, how to read a scientific poster. That I think is something that it never really occurred to me that people would need to know, because as it's like part of our doctrine as PhD students, that's what we're taught to do on day one, how to make a poster, how to make a paper. And we really take that with us throughout our whole career. But as someone who's never looked at a research poster before, they can be incredibly overwhelming. So I really tried to take that one and break it down into every single piece so that people would be more confident going to poster sessions and being able to research and things like that. And I think it turned out pretty well. I actually really loved getting all of the patient feedback. Every time you create something, of course, even when we turn in papers for submission, it's a little nerve-wracking because you put so much into it. You want people to love it. The point of this is really to make it for patients and as helpful for them as possible. So even if the feedback was like, this slide is silly, like, thank you. I need to know that because I'm here for you. We're working for you. So I was really grateful that we had so many patients respond and give us such detailed feedback. It must have taken them so much time to go through all of that. So we're really, really thankful.
Oh, wow. I can't wait. I'm telling you, I can't wait to share this with my fellow patients and also researchers too. Like the audience for our community, patient partner innovation community, is very multi-stakeholder. We have patients that are involved in our network, researchers, physician, hospital associations. So I can see where what you guys have created is something, there was a gap. Kimberly, you said it right. There was a huge gap. And you guys have filled the gap. And I cannot wait to use that resource and spread that resource as well. So I have another question for the researchers. So say you have researchers that are tuning in, right? Researchers that haven't had any patient engagement whatsoever. What advice would you give them to get started? And we'll go in the same order. Ben, we'll start with you.
Yeah, so just to talk about the gap in general, before I started at UIC, the MD PhD program here, I used to work at Memorial Sloan Kettering in New York, and I worked in a research lab there, and I also shadowed a doctor. And walking from the research world and into the clinic is kind of a really unique experience because you see it's completely different worlds, different language. One's just so raw and emotional and very intimate, and research is very numbers and data, and so it's when the patients actually came into the lab, I'm like, whoa, these are two worlds mixing together, and how do we really bring this together? And you're right, there's a lot of researchers out there that work on biomedical research, but never really met a patient before.
Mhm.
So I think, conversations could be had with them, but, I'm not sure how effective lecturing them on how important this is would be. I think really the real difference maker would be is having, maybe patients tour the labs and keep this dialogue going, because at least for me, when I talked and met with the patients and the research advocates, that really left the lasting impact to me, because it put a face, it put real people lives in the forefront, and that's what at least made the biggest impact for me.
Awesome, awesome. So Casey, same question to you.
Yeah, so I mean, Ben did a really good job. I think so now leaving the research world and entering the medical world as a unique MD PhD student, I, through this experience, have learned and gained kind of hopefully the ability to communicate my research to my patients and kind of bring this sense of communication skills to be able to not talk in this kind of heavy scientific terminology that can be overwhelming. And I think, as MD, PhD students and future physician scientists, we have created this, we always talk about the bridge between the bench to bedside, but I think there's this additional bridge to the patients. And it's not just treating the patients or researching, it's the feedback that we get back from them to help guide the research. And to more directly answer your question, for researchers that maybe don't have this unique clinical experience, to remember that the research goal, if it's not purely basic science, it's ultimately for the patients, and it should help guide your research. And it can only make your research stronger by creating this dialogue and trying to start the dialogue. So hopefully these modules start to spark and engage this bi-directional education that we can gain from each other.
I love it. Communication is key. And Tova, I know Ben and Casey have given us some wonderful nuggets. So add your, what are your insights around this, Tova?
It's true. My colleagues are very well spoken. I don't have much to add, but I would just like to encourage, I think that anytime a researcher thinks, maybe I should involve a patient in this, absolutely. Even if there's no set way to do it, find a way to do it. Talk to the UI Cancer Center Patient Brigade, or talk to the Cancer Center. Someone somewhere knows of a connection that you could use in order to connect yourself as a researcher with patients. And I think it's incredibly important that we do that. And I hope in time there will be more set ways for us to take advantage of that communication. So if it's not there yet, keep trying. We're doing our best.
Yeah, and you made a good point where, sometimes I think a lot of us, and this is also for patient advocates too, we get so used to working in our spaces that we forget to think outside the box. And so you gave such a practical response to that. I love it. It's okay. So maybe we don't have an advocacy group right at our fingertips to pick from, but there's someone in our community somewhere that can connect us. We just got to try a little bit harder. So I love that. I love that. I love that. And Kimberly, I can't get away without asking this. So for patients, right? So the patients that are tuning in that are we're like me, scared of the research, what advice would you give them to get involved? And why is it important for them to get involved?
I have been saying this so much this week and last week that I feel like I'm running for election or something, but it's the power of one. If you have an idea, as an advocate, it is incumbent upon you to sort of try to figure out, how can I make this project or this idea a reality? If you see the gap, do your best to try to figure out a way to fill the gap, because that helps to promote the science and ultimately the answers and the cure for cancer. That's the ultimate goal that we're all in this to do, right? is to get us a little closer to a research design that works.
Mm-hmm.
I'm at most expedient in nature. I have a rare form of ovarian cancer. Ovarian cancer has no diagnostic test.
Whoa.
I do this because I want to get closer to the research. And if I can speak about it and speak in different places and in different forums
Mm-hmm.
that perhaps the scientist is not speaking in, then we work as a team. But I can't do the scientist much good if I don't know what I'm talking about,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so we have to start somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And this is sort of the foundation of laying the foundation that just says it's okay for patient advocates not to understand the science.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay for the scientist to want to work with you to help you understand.
Mm-hmm.
We do not want to be a scientist. That's not what patient advocates want to be. We want to be knowledgeable enough to speak in our own arenas. Now remember, this is not just for the patient advocate. It's for the caregiver. It's for the journalist who writes on scientific conferences. You know how much pain goes into trying to understand a scientific poster and write about that as a journalist? And you don't have this type of background, right?
Yeah.
It really is practical on so many levels, and it just opens the door and says, come on in, it's okay. Learn at your own pace. No one is going to be with a red pen going, no, you got that wrong, and you didn't say statistical significance correctly.
I can't say that.
No, none of those things are going to happen. It's in a very relaxed environment. And so I want to mention, though, and I want to do this shout out to all of the national patient advocates who were involved, because we asked the caregiver, we asked the seasoned research advocate, we asked across cancer type, we asked across socioeconomics in terms of race. We tried to get who the cancer patient is in the evaluation of these modules. So there's no one that got left behind, you know? And so, yes, in terms of those newly out of treatment survivors who were emailing me going, I don't understand this. And I'm like, okay, tell me what you don't understand.
Yeah.
Write that down.
Yeah.
Because even within what we think we did right? Mm-hmm. Between the four of us, we could have had groupthink going on. Yeah, look at us. These modules are the bomb. And then someone else is still sitting out there saying, I need another step down. I need my ladder to get to where you guys did these modules.
Yeah.
So we're going to constantly be having to think outside of the box in terms of, did we get it right the first time? And so as I told the students, I'm like, we may have not done this the best. We did it the first. We're the first at it, but there may be another group of researchers that will come along, and maybe they'll do something that's animated, or they'll do something that's quirky like the Science Guy kind of videos. And all that matters is that the discussion begins, that people can see that it matters.
Yes.
And that it's possible.
Yes.
Right? And that's all that matters at the end of the day. The power of one, right? Yeah. That's my thing for the last 2 weeks. That's the power of one.
You know what?
And
that sounds like that you guys, that you're setting the stage for the second version of this. You guys, I think you'll be continuing to work. So are the modules available now?
They are. We finished them yesterday. We had the modules were being professionally mastered. And then we had to sort of put some context questions in front of the modules and behind the modules in terms of allowing people to evaluate what we've said. How will we create a place where we could gather data on these modules so that we know who's asked for them, who's been trained by them, and then can we bridge and make connections for these folks who have participated in the module so that it's not just about the training, but it's about future collaboration. So they can come back to these modules through our email address and say, as a researcher, I'd like to speak with a breast cancer survivor who perhaps needs to participate in a clinical trial. Well, we'll have that data. And so it's really important that we developed the platform for that, and not just sent this out like, hey, you can do this on YouTube. That devalued what we were attempting to do.
Yeah.
And so we had to create a mechanism for people to come into a portal to provide some information, get trained in the 2 hours from the course, and then help us with evaluations to help us make things better. And so I'm very pleased to say that yes, everything is done, and the link is available. And through these guys' hard work, we are now going to be partnering with several national advocacy organizations who have allowed them to put their modules on their websites within their resource libraries, which is huge. And even better, I don't know how it could get any better, but somehow it has. We have had discussions with ASCO as their virtual conference is happening at the end of the week. And the students' modules will now be on their listserv for all their patient advocates. And it will be on their website, and they're going to be tweeting it out. And I'm super excited for them. And we have a second possibility that's coming up at the end of the week to talk to AACR, another global scientific conference. So we've got the medical conference, we got the scientific conference.
Oh, wow.
We're just trying to showcase these guys' work and let people know it's possible.
Yeah, and I think that's important because, we often learn from our peers. And for future science, your young scientists, I would even go a little bit further down as, your undergrad, they're looking at this like, okay, I can achieve this. It's an attainable goal and not just this pie in the sky that seems so far away that I can't touch it. So I'm proud of you guys. You guys, this is awesome. And I know I can't wait to share the link, and I will definitely put it on my task list to connect you guys with all the research connections that I have and we have at PPIC Patient Partner Innovation Community. So that this has been great. So I know we've had such a good discussion, and I just want to close with each of you, sharing maybe a lessons learned or some type of, I would say, little tidbits of this whole entire experience. So we'll start with you, Ben, and we'll go around the circle.
Well, first and foremost, I want to thank the UI Cancer Center for giving us the organizational support, Kimberly for everything she's done. Kimberly's literally the best, and giving us this platform, and her excitement and interest in this is just contagious, and we all feed off of it. My PI, the head of the Cancer Center, the acting head, Jan Kidieski, who's given me the green light to, take some breaks from research and work on this, which I'm very excited about. So, it's definitely a team effort, and I'm just very proud to be a part of this team. And I really hope that it's a continued conversation we have with the viewers of the content. I know it's not going to be perfect for everyone, so that's why we put in our emails so we can continue getting the feedback, and we get ideas for upcoming new content, such as, maybe we could cover health disparities or the stages of clinical trials. So there's a lot of opportunity moving forward, and I'm very excited about it.
Ooh, I'm excited. You're giving me goosebumps.
Yeah.
Casey, on same question to you.
Yeah, he did wonderful. Thanking everyone. It's been a wonderful experience just to see this thing transform. In my mind, it was a Facebook post by Ben saying, hey, come join this little idea we have. And now it's becoming very national with something that it's something that I want to, like Ben said, to continue beyond UIC in my career as a future physician scientist, just to, with these modules, but also in my everyday practice with research and
Love it.
clinic to kind of have this, you know, this, like I said earlier, this third bridge and communication between the patients. And I guess it's been a nice reminder, you know, not just in the crazy focus of research that you can kind of get in this little bubble, that this, being a part of this platform has really kind of expanded and gave me additional motivation, not just to focus on research, but the reason behind the research and the patients that we're seeing. So I think it's been kind of a really cool reminder to, you know, why we're in this really long training. So I'm really excited to see where it's going to go in the future and want to continue being part of it. I guess it's exciting.
Absolutely. So Tova, same question to you. Lessons learned, insights from your perspective.
So again, thankful for everything, for everyone's support in this. I think if I had to pick one lesson that I'm probably most thankful for, it's that this came so early in our careers. We're still relatively young in terms of a research career, in terms of a medical career, and learning this early how we can best communicate our science in order to engage patients with our community, I think has been incredibly rewarding. And especially because it's so early, it gives us a lot of time over the rest of our career to kind of develop those skills, focus on that, and carry that with us throughout all of our practice, and hope that we can touch a bunch of other lives as well.
I love it. I love it. And Kimberly, we're going to end it with you. Lessons learned, insights, and also who can they contact to get more information about the modules?
Okay. Lessons learned. I could not have worked with 3 human beings that were so incredibly easy to work with. And I have over 25 years as a former executive director of an organization of my own that I created from scratch. And having a staff of 20 people who you have to lead and give direction to. Oftentimes I did not have to do that. And I was just incredibly happy to just say, do it. And they did it. Okay. That gave me such joy. I was just like, I can just email them and I get product back. So I cannot express to the 3 of you how wonderful it was to work with you on these modules. Thank you so much. You know what they mean to me, and you know what this project means to me. And you exemplify excellence, and you have raised the bar amongst your colleagues. So they got to come with it.
Yeah.
They're going to have to come with it. Yeah, they're going to have to bring it because they did a fantastic job on these modules. Where they can get more information, I will give you the link that you can then, that gives them access to the modules. Okay. But when they want to contact us directly, we have an email address that's associated with the university's Cancer Center, and that is SASEP@uic.edu.
Awesome.
And so I want to reiterate what Ben said, just thanking the university's Cancer Center, Dr. Kidieski, and his unyielding support of my project ideas. I'm always in awe of the level of support he gives me to just think through an idea and execute. And so he gives me the support and the administrative staff that I need to get a project done. And I am forever grateful to him for allowing me to work with these guys and get this project done. It's a lot of people behind the scenes, from communications to IT people to just administrative folks who helped me with the simplest of things. I mean, like I said, I did not know how to create a certificate of completion online. I didn't know how to do it. But thank God for the secretaries within the Cancer Center, because they knew how to do it. And I needed it last night in the 99th hour. So, and they come through. And so to remind you guys that this project took us a little over 2 months, but we did it within the pandemic.
Wow.
The
Like, you got
whole
a
project.
pat on the back for that.
Within this pandemic. So you can't tell us that
It
when
can't be
things
done.
go back to the new normal,
Yeah,
that you can't collaborate with folks.
That's
okay? Because
Yeah.
we're not gonna tolerate that answer.
that's
And
and, you
you could
said
do something as powerful of a message that these guys have done. You got to come stronger than that. Yeah. So that's where I'll end. Just thank you, Desiree, for having us
Oh, wow.
on your show and giving us this platform to speak about collaborating with scientists. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. And so for those listening, we heard some key points you touched on, that leadership support, right? So yes, we want everyone to participate in collaborating with researchers and patients, but we also need the support from our systems. We need support from our leadership, so those that are tuning in, take this back to your leaders, share this with your leaders, show them that this can be done and this is how it can be done. So no excuses, right? No excuses. Well, this has been a wonderful conversation. I so appreciate you guys joining me, and I appreciate my listeners and those that are watching off YouTube. Again, we here at Patient Partner Innovation Community, it's all about collaboration across all boards. So as always, guys, I want you to be engaged. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.